Hello everyone, so welcome you all to Ashok Tutorials Meghalaya's first MTED channel. So my dear friends, this is the last video on Unit 4. Alright, what is that? That is Piaget's clinical method of child study. See, you already have learned about Piaget's cognitive developmental theory, right? So this is quite similar to that, but this one is more in detail, right? So how it is in detail, let us see. Jean Piaget, one of the most influential figures in developmental psychology, developed the clinical method as a way to understand how children think and reason. So, as we know that Jean Piaget is a very influential psychologist, and he have developed a way which is known as clinical method in order to understand how the children they think and how they reason out. This method combines observation, open-ended questioning, and a flexible approach to studying cognitive development in children. See, now suppose if you want to know, or you want to know, you want to know like what actually is Piaget's clinical method. So, in Piaget's clinical method, what do you do is that you observe the child. What do? You observe the child and you give them open ended questions. See, in questionnaire method, I have taught you that there are two types of questions basically. That is, one is open ended question, another one is close ended. What is open ended? Open ended questions are the questions like how, why. These are the questions which are open ended, where you have to do a little bit of explanation, right? But when we talk about close ended questions, those are the questions which can be answered in yes or no. So, Piaget he preferred open ended questions rather than close ended questions, where he want the learner to express why they are behaving that way, or why that is the only solution to that problem, or how can it be done. So all those questions are included here, right? And a flexible approach. And the approach used by Jean Piaget is very flexible. It is not rigid, it is not very strict, so it is flexible. Piaget's clinical method is notable for its emphasis on understanding the underlying cognitive processes children use to solve problems rather than just the correct answer they provide. See, when you are asking a child that what is your favorite color, the child will say blue or green or red, whatever. Then our work is done, right? You and me as a normal teacher, this is all we want to know. But Piaget, what did he do? Suppose he will ask, for example, a question like, what is your favorite color? The child says red color. After that, the child will ask, why red is your favorite color? Then the child will explain. Then, why do you think that this is so and so, that is so and so, like that? They will go on, he will go on, inquiring more and more about the child, and this way is termed as clinical method of child study by Piaget, right? Let us see the key features. So, open-ended interviews. So the clinical method involves a series of conversation or interviews with children where the researcher asks open-ended questions to explore the child's thought processes. Unlike traditional research methods, these interviews are not structured with predefined questions. Instead, Piaget would probe deeper based on the child's responses, encouraging them to explain their reasoning. See, this is what just now I explained, that one of the feature of Piaget's clinical method is asking open-ended questions where the questions are not pre-designed. Like in our interview, we know what type of questions they will ask, right? They will say, tell me something about yourself. Then tell us something about your hobbies, tell us something about your educational qualification. These things they will ask us, right? But here Piaget will not have pre-designed questions, but according to the answer given by the children, he will keep on asking, questioning more and more, right? The process of introspection. Piaget encouraged children to reflect on their own thinking during problem solving skills. This introspection allows the researcher to get insights into the cognitive mechanism at work. Piaget believed that understanding the reasoning behind children's answers was more valuable than simply recording the responses. Now you see, what did Piaget say? What did Piaget say is that introspection. Introspection means what? To think about your own action, or to think about why you are thinking that this will be the correct answer and not that one. So this means reflection. You will reflect on your own thinking. Suppose when we have two roads to take, one is left side, one is right side, then we will say better to go on the left side. Maybe the town is on the left side. Then again you will think, no, I think it is on the right side. Then reasons you will give, right? And once you have chosen the road, then you will say, yes, I think this road is correct because I can see the shops here, I can see the vehicles here, like that, right? So you will find reasons for your own, own choice. Observation approach. Piaget used direct observation as a crucial tool in this method. Observing children in natural settings such as classroom or during play provided insights into how their thinking evolved over time. He looked at how children's reasoning changed in response to new experiences and how they adapted their understanding of the world. See, as we know that Piaget's clinical method of child study involves observation. Observation is very important according to Piaget. So what do he observe? He observed the children in the natural setting. What is natural setting? Natural setting means in the natural environment, all right? In the playground, in the classroom, in the corridor, in the field. So those are the places where the Piaget will observe the child and understand about the child's behavior. Emphasis on active learning. Piaget saw children as active constructor of knowledge. He proposed that cognitive development occurs through interaction with the environment rather than just absorbing information passively. In this clinical method, Piaget focused on how children actively engaged with the world, forming hypotheses and testing them. Now you see, we all know that teaching and learning is a tripolar process. Why tripolar? Because we have the student, then we have the teacher, and then we have the curriculum. Now, in the present teaching and learning scenario, we take the children as active learners, right? Not passive learners. We want them to take part actively. We want to involve them as much as possible. We give them group activities, we give them hands-on experiences, we ask them to perform the task, perform the activity and study, right? So that's why what Piaget said is that the children should be active learners and they should not just listen or acquire knowledge sitting passively. Passively means just absorbing whatever the teacher is explaining, the child is just sitting and listening. It should not be that way, right? Use of problem solving tasks. To investigate cognitive development, Piaget used tasks that challenged children to think logically or to solve problems. These tasks were designed to reveal the child's stage of cognitive development, such as whether they had mastered concepts like conservation. All right. So, use of problem solving task. So, to investigate the cognitive level or the cognitive development of the child, what did the Piaget do? He used tasks that will challenge or that will bound the children to think logically and to think in a reasonable manner. So example given here is about conservation. So in one of our video we have already learned about what is conservation. Conservation means, suppose I give you 100 ml of water and I ask you to put that 100 ml of water on a plate and on a glass. So according to the different perspective of the learner will say that the water in glass is more as compared to the water on the plate. Why? Because the child has not understand conservation. But if a child has understood the conservation process or concept, then he will be able to say that even if you change the shape or size of the container, the volume always remains the same, right? Cognitive stages. Piaget's clinical method was grounded in his in his theory of cognitive development, which he divided into distinct stages: sensory, motor, pre operational, concrete operational, and formal operational. Through this method, Piaget sought to understand how children's reasoning and cognitive abilities evolve through these stages, highlighting qualitative changes in thinking at each stage. Now you see these cognitive stages. You have already studied about Piaget, right? Piaget's cognitive theory. So there are different stages like sensory motor stage, pre-operational stage, concrete operational stage, and formal operational stage. Pengrang, down asong by chance Yanas Kangoba video. Yanas Kangoba video means the Piaget cognitive development video ko ni khu jagin chim onga ode na simang u ko ni phabo unu anga namme man chana simang na Piaget ni theory ko explain kha ha ne yano de anga kha jawa jok maine ma already kha ha ni man simang kha sa pae wa cognitive development theory by Piaget u ko wa video ko ni phabo ne. We already understood what do Piaget's theory explains, right? Now, strengths and contributions. So let us see what are the strengths or what are the advantages of this Piaget's clinical theory or clinical cognitive theory. Rich qualitative data. Piaget's clinical method provides rich qualitative insights into the cognitive development of children. Unlike standardized testing, this method allows for a deeper understanding of how children think. So, the data we acquire through Piaget's clinical method is qualitative, which means it is of high quality. Why high quality? Because here the questions which we will ask is not standard, which means it is not pre-planned. Here the questions depend on how the child answers, right? Developmental insights. The clinical method helped to highlight the progressive nature of cognitive development, emphasizing how children's thinking becomes more complex and abstract as they grow. See, developmental insights means what? It means that we have already seen that there are different stages of development, cognitive development of the child, right? So, the child may not understand what is conservation when he or she is of the age 3 or 5, but of course they will definitely understand when they grow to 7 years and above, right? So this is what it says. Child-centered. Piaget's approach focused on the child as an active participant in learning, offering a more dynamic and engaging view of how children construct knowledge. What does it mean? It means that, according to Piaget, the child should be an active participant or the child should be an active learner. The child should not sit idly and listen to what the teacher is teaching passively, right? He should be active participant in that. So now let us continue. Criticism. So of course we know when there is pros, then of course there will be cons, right? When there are advantages, there will always be disadvantages. So what is disadvantage of Piaget's clinical method? The subjectivity. The flexible, less structured nature of the clinical method means that results can be influenced by the researcher's interpretation or biases. Some critics argue that the method lacks objectivity. What does it mean? It means that since here it is not a standard process, here it is very flexible, right? We will ask questions according to how the child is replying. So here it says that it can even mean that suppose if the researcher is biased, suppose I want to be biased towards John and I want to favor John, whatever he is answering, I may manipulate that, right? So that personal biasness might be there. Cultural and contextual limitations. Piaget's observations were primarily based on children from Western middle class background. As a result, his findings may not fully represent cognitive development in diverse cultures or socio-economic context. What does it mean? It means that the children the Piaget has selected belongs to the Western world or belongs to the middle class background. But it might not be true. Whatever the findings the Piaget have might not be true for the people living on other parts of the world. For example, for Asia, Russia, Africa, right? It can be different. How the children thinks might be different. How the children think might be different, right? In summary, we can see Piaget's clinical method is a pioneering approach that contributed immensely to our understanding of child's development by focusing on how children reason and problem solve rather than merely assessing the correctness of their answers. Piaget's method provides groundbreaking insights into the nature of cognitive growth and the ways in which children actively construct knowledge. While the method has its limitation, its influence on developmental psychology remains profound. Now, see, of course, there are always pros and cons, whatever we study and we do, but of course, as human beings, as the person who loves to advance in any field, be it psychology, be it science, try to accept the positive points or the advantages, right? So here, even though Piaget's theory has got certain limitation, is it still remains profound, all right? So I think this is all in this video. Thank you everyone for watching.